Right, let's have a look at the gig and the gantry crane itself, just to give you an idea of the considerations that you need to have while you're working on the gig itself. First thing to talk about is the gig is held in place by a system composed of three parts. The first part is the gantry cranes, the gantry trestles, so this wooden structure here, and these straps here, and these obviously go underneath the hull and hold the boat, the gig itself in the hull. As you can see, because they're angled out, they will exert very little lateral side-to-side pressure on the hull, and they're also, each of the straps is aligned with the thwarts, so any side-to-side pressure they do put on will be supported by the thwarts themselves. Next is a keel support, consisting of these car jacks and supports underneath, and that's to give the keel something solid to sit on, so there's no bending or flexing in the keel as it's sitting in place. And then finally, and excuse my language, the oh shit last ditch piece, which is the wooden sawhorse at this end, and at the far end you could probably just about see some blocks, some concrete block under the keel, and that is the final do or die. If everything goes wrong, this will at least hold it up in place long enough for people to get out of the way to avoid getting hurt. So let's look at each of the sections in turn. So the first one is the gantry support. So each of the components in here is capable of supporting the boat weight-wise on its own. So these straps, each one of the straps is capable of holding the boat on its own, and as you can see, there are 4 of them on total. Each set of wheels is capable of holding the boat on its own. You see the wheels down here, and they have a locking mechanism, so they can be locked in place, and they should be locked when the boat isn't being moved. As you can see on the straps, they have what was called keckling on them to protect the paintwork, and a ratchet strap at the top to adjust it. I've put here in place the ratchet strap. Each of the ratchet straps is zip tie. They should not be adjusted, should not be moved unless you're under supervision as such. So those are zip tied, locked, closed, to stop people accidentally moving them or something untoward happening. Next piece to talk about them, after the gantry crane, is the keel support. So we have car jacks to allow us to adjust the height. So it's an adjustable keel support, so we can tilt the boat up or down if we need to, on a solid wooden 4x4 beam, sitting in a piece of a half piece of sewer pipe to allow the keel to rest on that, and that's adjusted into position. Key to that to be aware of, we have 2 sets of those 2 sections, one at the stern and one at the bow. And down here at the stern is a handle for the jacks themselves. It'll be kept here. There will always be that handle here in position. That'll be one of the checks. And if you need to adjust the boat, if something was to happen, if there's an accident or issue, you simply take the jack handle itself, put the hook in like that, and then turn to adjust it up or down as you need to. And that will always be in place here at the block work at this end in case something was to happen, and you wouldn't need to go hunting about in the garage for that. Okay, the last piece, and arguably the most important, this is the just in case something were to happen. At this end we have a number of blocks, it's 1 bits, just underneath the keel, and the same at the other end with the wooden sawhorse. Those are the bits that must not be taken out, must not be removed, because that is the final last stage. If everything else was to fail, which is highly unlikely to do, this would be the last thing to hold it, support it up, and stop people being hurt. Okay, one final bit then. In the boat itself, you will all know better than me, you should not put your feet onto the boards themselves or the ribs. Putting weight on that is likely to break or damage it, and therefore I have some stools that can be used as a rest or a standing piece to give people a little bit more height, but also this overhead trolley system to allow people to sit on the trolley, sit or lie flat on the trolley, so they can actually reach down into the boat and work. It's a little bit finicky to get onto. You'd need some help getting onto it unless you're quite agile, but when you're lying down on that, you can reach down into the boat itself and work, putting no weight on the boat, and you can then pull yourself back and forward along the gig and to get to the area you need to work. Right, let's talk about a few do's and don'ts. Well, actually, let's talk about a few don'ts. Do not attempt to move the gig on your own. Definitely do not attempt to adjust it on your own. It should only be moved or adjusted under the supervision of myself or the bosun. Do not go underneath. Okay, this is 350 kilograms of wooden boat, and I have put in safety factor of God knows what in keeping this supported and up, but ultimately anything could happen, so please just do not go underneath. You know, it's just a no-no. It's just something you wouldn't even consider or think about doing. And also, as well as do not go underneath, if you go between the trestle and the boat itself, again, you're putting yourself at risk of a crush injury. So please just take care when you're working near these pieces that you don't leave a limb or part of your body in a place where if something goes to shift or move, or you're to put your weight on the boat, because it still will move a little bit, that you could suffer from a crush injury. And then last, but definitely not least, do not remove the blocks at that end, and do not remove the sawhorse at that end. That is the last ditch safety measure. I know that's a lot of quite negative, oh, don't do this, but actually with the size and weight of this this beautiful pilot gig, it's really important to make sure that we're safe how we work around it, and that will allow us to ensure that people can work safely and we can get the work done we need to.